We've just had some more regulations imposed on us, this time by the Environment Agency. We have some farming rules for water which we have to follow and adhere to, but the EA have just amended those and said that if we want to use organic manures, we have to follow a very strict criteria which is difficult to meet. Now, organic manures are manures produced by livestock, sewage sludge from human sewage, and also digestate, which is the byproduct from anaerobic digester plants. Now, organic manures. This particular crop behind me here is sugar beet. This had an application of 18 tonnes per hectare of sewage sludge before we worked this field last autumn. We use approximately 10,000 tonnes of sewage sludge every year on various crops, and it is tremendous because it has got phosphate in it, nitrogen, a lot of trace elements, which is great for the crop. But one of the biggest things it's got is organic matter, and you cannot buy organic matter out of a bag. Now, years ago, sewage sludge was actually dumped in the North Sea. It was put on a boat and pushed out into the sea to get rid of it because they didn't know what to do with it. Just imagine the damage to the environment and aquatic life that would cause. For the last 18 years, we've been using it on this farm, and it's enabled us to reduce our bagged fertiliser by a huge amount. Probably before we started using this, we'd use in the region of 300 to 400 tonnes of bagged fertiliser. Now we use only about 10 tonnes of bagged fertiliser. The rest of it comes from products like sewage sludge. We also use liquid nitrogen instead of bagged nitrogen. So because we're not using bagged fertiliser now, because of the phosphate in the sludge, we're obviously helping the environment because we're not using mined fertiliser as such out the ground. So we would have to go back to using that if we obviously can't meet this criteria, which is a huge backward step in my mind. Now, these soils are difficult soils. They're not sandy soils, but it enables us to grow sugar beet because of how we look after the soil and what we do to it. One of the criteria for sludge is you have to have a green cover on the field all over winter to be able to use organic manures at all in the autumn. We can't do that on this soil type because if we had a green crop and a green cover crop on this soil over the winter, we wouldn't be able to establish the sugar beet the following spring because it's a very difficult crop to establish. Got little Frankie here having a quick look at the sugar beet. So the problem we've got is that if we had to go back to using bagged fertiliser, it will be a huge backward step and damage to the environment. Also, plastic waste. We've managed obviously to reduce that because we're not using bagged fertiliser. And the other thing with organic matter, we're constantly told to look after the soil. Organic matter is a great way of doing that. It opens up the soil, it makes it able to withstand rain better. The infiltration of a good organic mattered soil is higher, which obviously helps against flooding. It helps against environmental damage. We have here 6 and 8 metre grass and wildflower margins around every single field to protect the environment and protect the watercourses, because there is a dike just near that hedge over here. So we've been doing these sort of things since 2005. So the problem we've got now is that we are constantly being told by DEFRA and the government we need to look after our soils, we need to look after the environment, and we'll pay you to do that. But now all of a sudden the EA are saying, hang on a minute, you can't use sewage sludge in my particular case, so the organic matter that we put into this soil, and this soil has benefited hugely from this, now will not be improved. And it's such a difficult job to improve organic matter. It takes years and years. So really now we are at a quandary because we have the government telling us one thing and saying, we'll help you and we will pay you to improve your soils. We'll pay you to look after the environment. It's called public money for public goods. Yet all of a sudden now the EA are saying, whoa, hold on, we're not allowing you to do that. So the problem we've got is, what are the water companies going to do with all this sewage sludge that has been spread on these fields? And livestock farmers, they're going to have to need to have more storage for slurries and manures, which again is an extra cost. So really, it's such a backward step when what we're trying to do is produce food healthily while looking after the environment and nature. So come on, the Environment Agency and the government, let's have a bit of joined up thinking here. Let's not go backwards, let's move forwards.